I mean, it just comes down to trust no one and trust no one data source either. Like, you gotta have multiple sources of truth. It's one thing that we found time and time again. When we get data from revenue cycle, we get it from clinical, we get it from quality. We try to get data from different systems that don't talk to each other so that we can try from there to triangulate to the truth for what's really going on. Because especially when you're looking for like clinical truth, healthcare data is based on claims. It's based on billing cycles. It's not actually centered on any of what's really going on clinically. You can try to extrapolate. You can use, SNOMED ontologies or whatever else you like, but it's still all based on billing codes. So you never really know what's going on. So multiple sources of truth. If you can get the notes from the physicians, that's a gold mine. But they also use templates. So it's super messy there as well. So you can't trust it. We found multiple notes where within the same note, the provider refers to the person as male and female inside the same note. So, like, you're just using a template. This is not helping anyone here. So, yeah, multiple sources of truth. That is like 100% where you start. But then once you've got your multiple sources of truth, you're still kind of in hot water because what do you do when you have conflicts? What do you do when you find logical inconsistencies in the data? And this is where I would say 80 to 90% of my work has come, is in figuring out how to reconcile those situations. So it's really all coming down to business rules and business logic. And for anybody who's implemented reams of business logic before, you know that it's really hard to get all of that to align, to be logically consistent. It's really hard to keep it up to date, to keep these things consistent. If you go from ICD-9 to ICD-10, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with that? So all of this business logic implementation has to be done really carefully in a way that's nice and modular, easy to keep up to date, well documented. I hear people go on about how, hey, I don't need to comment my code because it is self-referencing. Well, it doesn't work when you need context. That doesn't work when you've got business implementations. You got to have really good contextual comments to make all that stay up to date and usable a year or two down the road when all of your assumptions fall down. You have to have access to clinicians and coders. They're not the same thing. They have totally different skill sets, clinicians and coders, and you need both. And they need to be like at your elbow while you're doing this. One of the great things that we did at the first healthcare company I was at was we actually mixed up our teams. So there wasn't a tech side and there wasn't a clinical side. They were blended teams. So the team that I oversaw had nurses on it. They were part of the team. Their responsibility was the same as the software engineers, to make sure that the data we're putting out makes clinical sense. And getting those people working together is really hard. So you got to have the right people to do it. You got to have people who want to learn, who are curious, who want to expand their horizons, both on the software side and the clinical side, right? Like, if you get a clinical person who doesn't want to learn how to fix their computer, they're not going to do great in this scenario. But there are so many nurses from the ORs and so many coders who want to expand their horizons and learn more and grow and figure out how this thing called SQL works. Like, if you can empower them and get these people together, oh, it's magic. It's so cool. It's like a different version of multiple sources of truth, right? It's like, do you have the coders defining the truth and the clinicians defining the truth and the software engineers defining the truth? You need everyone together. And like, that's how you work with really messy data. Is you never trust it and you get multiple opinions and you figure out how to make sure those opinions are scalable and maintainable.